would if you bring it up.
Yeah.
But here we are back at the Church of Why. What the fuck but why? Season 2 episode. We're calling this 3.
3 or 4.
Why?
Because we had 2 with your dad. We had 1
with Evan.
We had the one with Evan, we had the one with your dad, and then we had the pre-one with your dad when all 3 of us were over there. Because that's the one I thought you were talking about.
No.
And I put that one up first on Spotify because our shit's on fucking Spotify now. That's Spotify.
Yeah.
And then that was the other one.
Okay, yeah.
The one with Alex.
So we're episode 4.
Yeah, episode 4, season 2.
And we should take a moment to celebrate Lackawanna on his 23-24K.
Oh yeah, my TikTok. Yeah, dude, it was beautiful. Yeah. Fuck around with some shit and you get,
So how's it feel, like that first little pop? Because even though like there is shit that has like 23,000, that's not a big deal, but you had like 1,000 comments.
Yeah.
So that's interaction.
Yeah,
it's not just a video that just popped. Like there was tons of interaction on it.
Yeah,
no, stuff.
It's cool. Yeah, and it's all love all the time. That's what's fucking dope about it.
Except me, I'm the only hate.
Yeah, you come in there. It's funny. Yeah, you come in there and toss a little hate. But like anyone who fucks with me knows you now.
True.
They know that like the what the fuck but why thing's in there now.
True.
You know what I mean?
It says what the fuck but why.
Yeah, and it's in there. It's good now. Yeah, but like the first feeling, it's weird because I've had a couple go like 12,000. I had one go 5,000, and there's like a space of time where it's growing. You can watch it.
Yeah.
And it's like holy fuck, and then it feels cool, and you just wonder how far it's gonna go.
Yeah.
And then after like a day and a half, you're like, okay, that's about where it's topped off.
Died down.
But it's still going. Like my followers, I got like over 1,000 followers in 2 days.
Well, I wanted
which
to
is pretty cool.
Before we go, or we're just starting.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just say like what I told you, like because sometimes you'll put out a video and say it does good, right?
Yeah.
And that's what everybody's always wishing or hoping for. But when it happens, you realize it's not what you think, or it's not as great, right?
Right.
But the way to spin that and to really look at what happened was you casted a net, which you do every day. Every post is casting a net.
It really
and on
is.
this day, how many followers did you get from it?
Like 1,000.
1,000. You caught 1,000 fish.
Yeah.
Move on.
They're in the bucket.
But so don't think about like I just need one video. It ain't gonna happen like that.
Right.
It's very rare to get people to like subscribe and come over and actually like engage and be an actual supporter and viewer.
Yep.
So, but you have to work like that too. Like next up.
Yep.
Like just keep
and I'm
coming.
getting more comfortable with that process.
Yeah.
Because I mean we're definitely building what the fuck but why, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
And just being comfortable with like, okay, it's just bursts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little burst, like it feels cool for a little bit, but then there's still the challenge of pulling them over to YouTube.
Yeah.
Pulling them into what the fuck but why, and getting them into the brand and like just the whole vibe of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, because I find, and I think you do now too, like when I actually get somebody's attention in real life or out, and they really look at it.
Yep.
Like just a quick, tiny little story like at work, these older dudes are like 50, 60, like I think Evan or something brought up, I had a podcast and he asked me about it. I sent it to him. 2 older guys at a dock,
Yeah.
Just threw out one out with my dad, and then like a day later, the Jeff dude, he like comes up to me, he's like, dude, he's like looking at me, he's like, dude. I'm like, what? He's like, bro. He's like, holy shit, that podcast. He's like, dude, I would have never guessed. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And like Evan says, when people, talk about, because he does my route, they'll be like, dude, I would have never, like that. It's like, so I just need, when we talk about it, I get it. Everybody has a podcast. I get it. But this is different.
Yeah,
dude.
it is.
It's
different.
And you have to like show, but that's in Shark Tank. This would actually be a bad investment because in Shark Tank, they always say it has to be an easy sell. That like a lot of products that have like a lot of like you need a lot on the box. Like you have to do this is for this is for that. They tend to not go with that. So we do have a harder approach of like really showing because most stuff is what it is. Like it's just like these fake little pods that just kind of do it for like just they don't even know there's no real reason. They just kind of like gloss over stuff and have interviews and like so we have to it takes a couple episodes or clips or engagement to realize
to get to know us and to get to know that we're about changing the world.
Yeah, and just like The art,
and the art aspect of it, and just like all of it.
Yeah.
That it's a fucking dope thing we got going on.
So it's a harder grind for us, but we're doing it anyway.
Yeah, we are.
And we're excited.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah,
what the fuck, but why? Let's go.
But on this episode, we had a cancellation.
Yeah, we did, which is okay. Yeah. We were going to have a Marine on who I went to high school with.
Yeah.
And he's going to come on later, though.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah, he's still down.
But we have goddamn Big Ray yapping away down
again,
there.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on up.
We always say never fucking politics. We're not talking politics, but of course, like half the thing was politics.
We tried to get out of it.
Yeah, we did get out of it, and it actually felt better after we got out of it.
So
isn't that weird?
Yeah.
How it was politics, but like letting your dad go.
I know.
I just love listening to him and letting him go.
So we were just like, we're gonna let him go, and people do love politics.
Yeah.
We're just sick of it.
Yeah,
people aren't.
100%, exactly.
You know.
Yeah, dude.
It's tough.
Yeah, people aren't, but we are.
Yeah.
That's good.
People are just getting started. But anyway, so here you go. Enjoy. And we're going to put a subscribe. We're trying to grow this goddamn thing. So, you know what I'm saying? We're trying. 4 years in.
Yeah, 4 years
got
in.
hats
Just
coming.
getting started, boy.
Yeah, let's go. So, here we go. Big Ray. Boom.
They just said that they want to be part of, why would you even want to be part of Russia? Like, tell me why, as a country, why should I be a part of Russia? I don't want to be. I don't like you. I don't want to be a part of you.
Yeah.
Why are I don't want to be a part of Russia. Russia is not you talk about, about freedom of speech. You have even less in Russia.
5 minutes.
You don't have no freedom of speech in Russia.
No. You don't have it here either. Like
Putin and the government, they control everything.
But we were just talking about how there's no freedom of speech here either.
Right. Yeah. But there again now.
But they're almost more blatant with it over here. Here, there's no freedom of speech.
Just remember though that the Constitution is about talking out against the government. And so, so you're allowed to talk out against the government. And so, but in Russia, you're not allowed to talk out against the government.
We were just talking about that, though. Ted Nugent talked about Obama, and then they sanctioned him from not playing at any of the U.S. Army bases.
Yeah, but they didn't put him in jail.
They didn't put him in jail, yeah.
Like in Russia, they'll put
he still
you
got
in jail.
punished, and he got threatened by the FBI.
Pussy,
That's
what was
scary.
the name of that group? The Pussy...
The hairy pussies?
The Pussy...
Cat dolls?
Dixie
Chicks.
No.
I squeaked.
The
Dixie Chicks.
No, I know. Pussy Riot.
Yeah. They actually got put in jail.
Yeah. For talking out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't far off because Dixie Chicks did have a little moment with speaking out against the president.
They spoke out.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they lost their career over
that.
One of them spoke out against Bush.
Yeah.
Against the Iraq War.
Like I said,
which was wrong.
Yeah.
It was clearly wrong what he did.
That's what's tough about this, Russia versus Ukraine. I just watched Full Metal Jacket last night.
Yeah.
Are we podcasting now?
Yeah, we're just going. Like, I was watching Full Metal Jacket, and, a lot of people say that the only good part of that movie is boot camp. You know how we always say that? But the whole movie's actually good.
Even
that's
when
not
they go
true.
to Vietnam?
Yeah, I feel like everybody says that. Like, oh, Full Metal Jacket. Like,
the best part of it.
It's the best part, but it, it does. It's very similar to Russia and Ukraine. It's very goddamn similar because Putin is saying that he wants to free Nazis right? That's his excuse, right? Hold on, let me finish the train of thought. Just like America said we were conquering communism. So our excuse was communism for Vietnam, and Russia's he's saying they're Nazis and stuff, and he wants them apart.
Yeah, but does that make any sense? Because Zelensky is Jewish. He's the president, and he's Jewish. That doesn't make sense. It's not true.
Well, but there was CNN articles just like 2 years ago talking about how Ukraine was super corrupt. Like they were corrupt, they needed to do something about it.
Like you said,
what country isn't corrupt?
What country?
Yeah, they're all corrupt.
You said that to me when I said that.
Yes, exactly. I'll use the same one.
Yeah, we're just as corrupt.
Yeah, we are.
Maybe not just as corrupt. I don't know. It's a lot of times.
I think we are.
It's sort of like a sliding scale, right? From being totally corrupt
Yeah.
to being a little corrupt.
Well, we're better at sneaking it. We're
We're
better at sneaking.
Yeah,
We're like
it's-
magicians.
it
We're like,
is.
they put this here so we see this.
It's a sleight of hand. All the distractions.
hand.
There's so many distractions.
Yeah, a lot of sleight of hand. But in other countries, it's more like, this is what it is. Deal with it or go to jail.
Yeah.
We're just not like North Korea.
Yep.
You can't
and
even.
China.
They
Yeah.
put your
know.
whole family goes to jail.
Yeah.
It's
In
turning
Korea,
into that
North
in
Korea.
Australia, isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't
did
Australia?
you know that
yeah.
your whole family goes to jail if you get in trouble in North Korea? They'll put
Yeah,
your whole family in
that's
jail.
gnarly,
That's
dude.
nuts.
But sometimes we want to suggest things like that too. There's people, not mentioning any names, they suggested to kill the whole family.
That's
I
nuts.
mean, it makes sense sometimes, though. In that sense, like if you don't kill the whole family, because if you don't, then you don't have nobody coming against
like
you.
mafioso stuff.
So you just kill everybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
cartel does that.
Cartel does do
Yeah,
that. Yeah, the
like
drug
that,
cartels do that
So
shit.
it's very common throughout history. It's actually very common throughout history to kill the whole family, everybody.
I know.
Just totally uncles, aunts, everybody, just gets killed. The little kids, everybody. So there's
Yeah.
no one left,
Yeah.
to have any hatred
To turn
towards,
against
I
them.
know. I
Yeah.
like struggle. Like I always say now that I have kids, like when I think about the evil stuff that happens out there, it's almost like too much to even.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It like hurts my feelings.
Or like back in the day when you hear stories of like, we're so used to hearing stories about a tribe would come in and just slaughter the family. But think about it, we're a family that would literally be like out of nowhere, people just rush us right now and kill Mia in front of you, Riley, put your dad on a stake. Like that's what was happening back then.
Rape your wife.
Rape your wife right in front of you, like that story I
shit's
told you.
gnarly.
And that stuff happens.
I know,
Yeah.
and it really happens, and it's
Yeah.
always happened.
Well, I heard a story. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard the cartel would actually literally take your baby and smash it against a rock.
Hell yeah.
Just think how you deal with
Holy
that.
Hell yeah,
hell.
they do that. They're just so evil. It's so evil.
That's some dark shit, yo.
I know. Did you get a bad text or something?
No, no,
Oh, I thought like.
And so
you
you
got
be,
text.
and then sometimes you can be a part of that. Because otherwise, if you're not doing those things, and you get killed,
no. Yeah.
right? So then you end up doing the same things.
Well,
That's some barbaric shit.
Because it becomes that whole gang mentality.
but what gets scary when it comes to like what we're talking about? It just seems like when there's like religion on it. It like just makes them think it's okay, and that's what's scary. So
Yeah.
you could be like face to face with somebody like, dude, I got 2 kids, I have a family, and like in the name of their religion, like they don't give a fuck.
Right.
On the
Yeah.
name of like religion, and that's what's scary about religion.
Yeah, it's one thing. Like if money's moving them, it's a different thing. If
Yeah.
it's like an ideology that's moving
You're
them.
dying, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
But idealism can do the same thing. I mean, communism was against religion, and look at all the damage communism did. Look at all the people that Stalin had killed, and it was all in the name of being against religion.
Yeah.
Or against
Yeah, you
religion.
can't win. Yeah.
So really, it goes back to my thing about idealism is dangerous.
Yeah. In general, any idealism.
I mean, idealism will just make you, easily kill millions of people for your
Yeah.
ideal.
yeah.
Because of people that just go against your ideal.
Well, yeah,
Well,
because
why hasn't there's never been like a super positive ideal. Like, I mean, John Lennon was killed because he wanted love. Like I was asking you, like, is that, you said all idealism is dangerous. Like, what about the ideal that love will heal the world?
And people do get killed
Like,
for
how
that,
is
like
that-
you're saying. And people do get killed for that message.
For that message, yeah.
Yeah.
For speaking
well,
that message.
I'm not saying that to have ideals is a bad thing, but I'm just saying that a lot of times your ideals aren't really worth much till they're tested in reality.
Right.
So if I have this ideal, like I believe in something, let's say I believe in the trickle down theory that if we give the rich all this money, that they will take care of us. But then when we see all of a sudden, when we had the greatest middle class in the world, the envy of the world, and all of a sudden our middle class starts to dwindle because we gave everything to the rich, and somehow it didn't work. Somehow
Yeah.
that because wealthy people become greedy.
Very.
They're not going to give you anything.
I know.
Nope.
They hide it overseas.
Yeah, it's
know.
crazy.
So, but it sounds great though. You could rationalize it. You could say, yeah, because that's part of, I don't know if you ever heard of Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
Her theory of, she believed in the individual, and she did believe that if you gave the smartest people in the world, let them do their thing, that the society would be better.
Right.
But
John Galt,
but somehow in the course of, the whole thing, it doesn't seem to really work.
No.
And so people will, battle whether it's socialism or capitalism.
Well,
communism is sort of an extreme example.
Yeah. Well, no, I actually have. All right, I thought of like a quote while you were talking about that. Like, only shit rolls downhill.
Yeah.
Like, because they're saying like the trickle down theory, like good gets passed down, but I'm saying no. Like the saying shit rolls downhill.
Yeah.
Only shit rolls downhill.
That's why, like
only shit.
Yeah, like good, like meaning like they're not gonna. I hope somebody got that when I was saying that. Like they say shit rolls downhill, and they're saying the trickle down theory. Like we make money and it comes down.
Yeah.
No, it's like only shit.
only
rolls down.
shit. Okay, yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Only shit rolls downhill.
that's why, because I know.
And it piles up and starts smothering all the people down at the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Jason, we've talked before about billionaires, where I'm not really fond of billionaires because I think they're taking more than their share.
I think, yeah.
And so if I have a pie, right? So I have this pie and I want to share it with people. And so, so I just decided, well, I want the whole pie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share this pie. I'm just going to give the workers a little sliver, but I want to be a billionaire. There's no way to be a billionaire. I mean, there are ways in our society. Like, for example, like Stephen King is worth $500 $1 million.
Yeah.
And actually, Rowling, the one who wrote the
J.K. Rowling.
The Harry Potter series, actually became a billionaire.
Really?
For books, dude.
Yeah.
So it is possible to become,
That was my only argument for you, because you said to be
As
a
an
billionaire,
artist.
you have to fuck over your employees. And I was saying, yeah, mostly. But I think there are some people who just became billionaires that aren't evil people. Like,
It's probably rare, though.
I know, but like J.K. Rowling, like there are success stories where they, even like 500 million, like it can happen. Where,
Right.
I don't know. I don't think it's.
So, I mean, like, so.
That's all I was saying.
Well, but
Yeah.
but anyway, in the end, though, let's say, okay, so you're working in a company and your company is making record profits. In the meantime, you're not doing too well. Because really, the reality is that most people are just everyday people. Most people are ambulance drivers. They're workers, right? They're plumbers,
Landscapers.
huh?
Window cleaners.
Drivers,
Yeah.
drivers and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
that's the
So
majority
the
of the
majority
people.
of people are just everyday people,
Yeah.
and that aren't making like a whole lot of money.
No.
Right.
And so a lot of times, like, so you're working for a company, and you're working, and then they're making record profits. And so the only way that you're going to get some of that is you're going to have to fight for it.
Yeah.
They ain't going to give it to you.
That's why it's
No,
weird
yeah.
when people
And that's
are
why you have a
anti-union.
union.
Yeah.
A what?
So me and you always say we never understand people that are anti-union. It's like, okay, I get it. Some unions suck. Like, say my job, it's not the greatest union. But to the people who bitch about it, like, try that job with no union.
Yeah,
You'd be making
right.
half of what you make now.
Be an
You'd have
Amazon driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's,
You'd
the,
have
well,
no.
what's the example, though?
But Amazon's
FedEx.
starting to unionize.
Look
Are
at-
they?
Yeah, their first union they got.
yeah,
good
for them.
Amazon, they got their first
What
union.
about FedEx, right?
Yeah, they're the perfect
they're not
example.
union
They're not
anymore.
making no
Oh,
money,
yeah.
right? Like you are.
Mhm.
FedEx drivers aren't making the money like you are.
There are a lot of people just hate on unions. To me, at least, I always hear it.
That was I think that was a push from, like a propaganda push from the elite.
Well,
Like all the industrial fucking people, the big moguls and stuff.
But there is, I think some people maybe struggle because there's like an element of socialism in it.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, but that's this ism thing.
It's the idea of
So you've got
socialism.
capitalism at one extreme, and then you've got communism at the other
Well, hold on. Let me
extreme.
just finish my point real quick. So, meaning to give somebody an example, like I make the same amount of money and I could be working my ass off, and somebody who doesn't do shit will make the same amount of money. That's a big argument. Like people don't like that. Me, all I care about is the money I have. That's why when McDonald's workers want more money and people are bitching on Facebook, I'm like, let them. If they want to organize and strike, they have a right to.
Yeah, they do.
Then you work there. Oh, they make $20 an hour. Then you work there.
Yeah.
If it's that much money,
we
that,
actually
you
have a
know,
right.
I just care about what I make. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Don't worry about let people get. I don't know. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
let people get their money.
I
Oh,
get
but then our Big Mac's gonna be.
Then
an
they
extra
make more than me.
$65.
Then
Well,
you
guess
should
what?
fight for
Then
more
you should
money.
fight for more money,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if the Big Mac becomes too expensive, guess what? You're not going to eat there.
And,
then
and
don't
guess
eat
what?
there, yeah.
And guess what? It already is.
Yeah, it is.
They're like, oh, dude, it's already like $11 for a Big Mac and a large fry and a drink or some shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like already there,
Yeah.
like without them making more money. And employers
That's
do
because
just,
up at the top they're making their profits, and once that shit starts cutting into it, because they're paying their employees like $17 an hour at McDonald's now.
I'll let you finish your point, but like my company, they say they lost money, but when you really look into it, no, they just didn't make as many billions. Like one year they made 5 billion, and then the next year they made 3 billion. So they say it's a loss. Then they get all panicky and try
Yeah.
to cut and stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
'cause
yeah.
if you didn't lose money, you
Yeah.
actually it's all profit.
Right. You
know?
made $3 billion instead of $5 billion.
Yeah, sorry, you know.
Fucking terrifying.
But what were you saying, Dad?
No, I
know.
don't remember now, but I mean,
That's so long ago.
people bring up the socialism thing all the time, which
Yeah.
is a cop out, because I mean, personally, I would not like to see a toll booth at every corner. So I don't mind paying taxes towards our roads.
Yeah, the
But
road.
I don't want a toll booth at every corner. Somebody
Right.
collecting, money, and so the taxes pays for our roads.
I guess I don't get that example. So if we didn't pay, why would there be a toll at every other
Because
road?
how would you pay for the roads?
Oh, I see. They'd have to make it somehow anyway.
So they'll put it. They're actually already putting a toll booth along parts of 79 or somewhere like that.
Yeah,
It's
really?
so expensive too.
Yeah,
Or one of-
and of course that just slows everything down. Because Eisenhower was the one who really, I guess, made a lot of our interstate roads, and it was all through taxes. So because you've got, I don't know, like libertarians are like, they're the ones that I guess want a toll booth at every corner. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know what they want.
Because they think taxes is theft.
yeah.
Well, it's the allocation of the tax money that.
Allocation.
Yeah, like
Good
where's
point.
it going to? And then like the people that are allocating the tax money, they're picking their family members and friends to do the work,
Yeah.
and then they're getting kickbacks.
Well, I mean that's another issue, I guess, entirely. The
It's
corruption
just
of.
of the-
I mean, I tell you, it sometimes when you discover something, you realize, wow, I really didn't really understand much about how our country works. I never realized, because we have like, we have senators and representatives, right?
Yeah.
But we have federal representatives and federal senators, but we also have state senators and state representatives.
Yeah.
And so just think how much money that costs to pay all the state senators and.
Well, why? That's why, like, I get
I
annoyed.
never really, somehow I don't understand that.
That's why I sometimes get annoyed with like the new generation when they think they're doing such justice for the world by like posting on Facebook and shit, right? But they don't really do anything. That's always my struggle. I've talked about it before. Like a lot of this young generation, all they do is post and think they're doing something, But at the end of the day, it really comes down to like the like local elections and
Yeah.
getting laws passed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like you have to get laws passed. That's the only way shit's gonna change.
Right.
In the black community, any community.
Yeah.
But we don't pay attention to that because they just have us focusing on like the big one.
Right.
That really doesn't even matter that much.
Like a lot of times laws
Yeah,
will
it
get
really
passed.
doesn't.
A lot of times laws will get passed and then they discover because nobody voted.
Yeah, nobody voted, and they keep us distracted with like the big ones, like you said.
Yeah.
Like everyone.
I mean, the
thinks about
reason like the
president and shit.
Republicans got more in power because Republicans, at one point, the Republicans are very divided now. I think Ronald Reagan would be very upset because one of the things that Ronald Reagan, you don't turn against your own party.
Yeah,
they did.
And that's what's happening with the Republican Party. And it's always happened with the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party was never united. Because the Democrat Party is sort of like, you have your really progressives, and then you have your moderates, and then you have people that are really, in the end, almost like Republicans, in that sense, and depending on how you define all that. Like one of the things that I never liked about the Republican Party is they're clearly anti-union, and I don't really believe that's changed.
Are the Democrats like pro-union?
Yeah, Democrats. Well,
Are you sure? They might just say that.
Well, what happened was the reason, even though
politics.
Yeah, well, we're not in the mood for politics.
No, okay.
I was trying to get off it. I was trying to find a segue.
You're trying to find a
Okay,
segue.
you know what?
Yeah, but
politics.
actually, all right, we'll just.
Yeah. I just think politics, like, they're just all corrupt. And
Yeah.
the only way I'll vote ever again is if for a third party.
Yeah,
third
right.
party intervention.
Well, I mean, the
dude,
problem
that's
is,
it.
people have this idea of Republican, Democrat. Well, let me just
Last
finish
thought.
it.
Give your last thought.
Last thought.
Some people like
yeah,
this.
yeah,
This is for
that's
them.
true,
All right,
yeah.
here's your
People have this
politics
idea
stuff.
that
We'll
you
be
have
honest with them.
Democrat and you have Republican, but it's not like that. You have like a stream of beliefs going from all the way to your left to all the way to your right.
And then those are the loudest voices.
Yeah, that the
Yeah,
end.
and everyone's in the middle. That's
The
why
radical,
I think if like
yeah.
a good third party would come in,
How can we make that happen?
I don't know.
Well, there
What
is a
needs
third
to
party.
happen?
The Independent Party, from what I understand, actually is actually bigger now than both parties.
Really?
I'm not sure about that, but I think it's
think it's
gotten
gonna
really
happen.
big.
Yeah,
I
it
feel
has
it.
to, but it's
It's
gonna
gonna-
have to happen.
But the problem is the Independent Party is just on the sidelines.
It's great. Yeah, they're on the sidelines. Like there has to be so many. They need to. I don't know how.
Well,
they
they'll
get,
either
how do they
decide-
get onto the. How do they get onto the debate stage? Like there has to be so many votes or something on some.
Well,
level or some shit.
sometimes independents, like Ralph Nader was third party.
Yeah.
But actually, what had happened was it killed the Democrat Party.
See, and then that's the propaganda that they give you.
Well,
like
Bill-
there has to be a big enough. That's why, like it. The last time I really voted was for Bernie, because he was a grassroots movement, and
Right.
like the energy that was being just accumulated.
So
from
what?
his
You're
movement.
basically a socialist?
Well, I know. You know what? I know the disconnect between your generation and ours. I think you guys were way more brainwashed than you realize, and we're starting to like be aware of it. So like, you guys will go back and forth about these Republicans and Democrats, and like, oh well, Democrats do this, but it's like. That's corrupt too. Like you're
Yeah,
saying, like they're corrupt.
it's all
they're
corrupt.
We
I
see
just-
it for some reason. Like we see
Yeah,
it more, so
yeah.
it's hard to.
Like
Well, I mean,
watching,
the
just
Democrat-
watching like the only reason I liked Bernie so much was because it was a grassroots movement. He didn't have a party backing him, and then I saw the corruption in the Democratic Party with the prelims or whatever. When it like they
wanted
were doing
Joe,
all
they
kinds of
wanted
crazy
Biden.
shit. No, they wanted Hillary.
Oh, okay.
That was the first one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I watched how like they were doing the voter suppression in like Arizona, where they were closing down voting places so that like everyone from this one area had to go to this one place. That like it was obvious, and like there were some journalists talking about it, and like that's the shit that I was watching and believing. Like no, like they're sideballing Bernie. It was huge, and like there were no corporations giving him money. Like it was the people that were trying to
Well,
bring.
both
And he was talking about ending Citizens United, which would have gotten money out of politics.
Well, both Republicans and
There we go.
Democrats.
We got you.
Yeah.
Both Republicans and
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but both parties, the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, don't like third parties. They fight against them.
Yeah, I know, and like I think that's all controlled
Well,
by
it
the
always-
freaking corporate oligarchy.
Well, like take for example, like when
Until
Clinton-
then,
the
same
only
old,
reason,
same
yeah, they want two people fighting each other. That's it,
Right.
And that's controlled by the corporate oligarchy. And like you have to have so much money to get into CNN to even get like an interview. Like they won't fucking give people interviews.
You know
It's
what?
crazy.
You know what I want?
They won't.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll just cut you off.
No,
That
go
was
ahead. I'm
rude.
done.
I mean, the
I'm
only
done.
reason-
I'm good.
I
Yeah.
mean, like-
I would love to give people a sheet of paper of like really or write politics and left politics, and they've done it before, and like Jimmy Kimmel and stuff. And truly, like even the people I know, like fill it out, and like I bet you agree with a lot of Democratic stuff, and a lot of Democrats agree with a lot of Republican stuff.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm like kind of leaning pro a little right, then they think I'm anti that way. But it's like no, I agree with you guys too.
Yeah.
Socially, some stuff. But then you go too far.
And I swear to God, 95% of our country is that.
Yeah, the same exact way.
We're in the middle.
We're all kind of.
But there are layers of left and right.
That's what I'm saying.
See, and those layers, that's what keeps everyone in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, it's the
Because,
layers
I mean,
that
you
is
could be
the middle.
you could be left-wing Christian. You could be a left-wing Christian or a right-wing Christian.
Right-wing Christian, yeah.
So many different
So
ones.
that's a level right there. So and a lot of times, those people, are very what's the word? Single issue voters.
Yeah, right.
What they call.
What would you say your biggest? Or this is the last thing we're gonna do, and then we're gonna move on to just like a random topic in my phone, right?
Okay, yeah.
What would you say is like your single biggest, like the most important thing when you vote? Like like some people are about like the way they handle money or like social, guns, abortion.
Yeah.
Like,
are you asking me?
Yeah. Like what you would like to see, what you would like to see.
I
in the
want to
next
see
president.
corporate money out of politics.
All
I want Citizens United to end. Like the
And
Mine.
the
Well, let me
Democrats
say
are
mine.
always big on that.
Let me say mine.
Democrats
Republicans
love
aren't.
the money. They all love the money.
Well, they do, but you're going to get more people on the left against that than on the right.
Yeah.
Because it was the right that really, I mean, I understand that,
See, but that's the thing. Like, you're still like,
Yeah,
you're
it's
still
like-
going like,
it's-
you're still dividing just right and left. Like, we need to build the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We need to build the
Well,
middle.
That
it's
type
hard.
of talk. That
Fuck
type of
the
talk
right,
is
fuck
what's
the
hard.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
bad
it's
talk.
keeping us in this right left. Like, we
Like
need
Democrats wouldn't like that. That's not true.
Republican,
Maybe.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it needs to. There needs to be an uprising.
well,
from
they
the
like
middle.
to divide us.
And that's what it is. And that's
They
the
all
thing.
do.
Like your mindset
I don't
is
care who
stuck
it is.
on
They
it.
all
For
they all want
votes
to
and-
divide. We're more divided now than ever.
Yeah.
The
And we don't
divided
even.
states
And a lot
of
of times we don't
America.
even know
That's
why.
exactly it, dude.
Yeah.
Like for example, like
The divided states of
Biden wants
America.
to build back better. He wants to build the infrastructure. He wants to he wants to pour more money into the infrastructure. And
Did you read that bill by chance? I haven't been
well,
paying attention to politics.
Manchin was against it. Manchin was a senator from West Virginia.
Wasn't there a bunch of shady shit in there? Like,
Well, he's like, he's into oil and he's pretty rich and all this kind of stuff. And so the coal mine union told Manchin that they like the Build Better plan.
oh really?
And so, because it's going to be good for the people.
Did it pass? I think it passed.
No.
Didn't it? Oh, it didn't.
No, it was.
All right.
It
Yeah,
was
we can
kinda,
get off
it was kind of
politics.
truncated and stuff.
Yeah. That was for this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But let me
A
just
little
say
bit
one
early.
thing final about this third party thing is the reason that Bill Clinton, won, against H.W. Bush was because of Ross Perot. Do you remember Ross Perot?
You think Ross Perot pulled from the right?
Ross Perot was an independent,
Yeah.
and he
but
was against NAFTA.
Yeah.
Okay.
For good reasons.
Well, both H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, H.W. Bush actually created. He's a Republican. H.W. Bush actually created NAFTA. It was
Yeah.
created in the Reagan
And
administration.
then Clinton pushed it through. Clinton got
Well,
it done.
Clinton,
That's why I
the
like
reason,
it.
but
Yeah,
Clinton
finish
was
up this
qui-
point.
Yeah.
I'm bored.
Again, it's
All
like
right,
the
let me
fourth
just-
time
Yeah,
you said
I know.
that.
I know.
Clinton, okay,
Yeah,
but
it's the
Clinton,
last point.
But Clinton was quiet about it because he knew that NAFTA was not popular with the unions.
Yeah.
The unions did not like NAFTA.
Right.
And a big supporter of the Democrat Party was the unions.
Yep.
And
And he pushed it through.
he signed it.
Yeah.
He
Got
kind
all
of
his
agreed
rich friends
with it,
richer, dude.
but
Fuck
he
it.
didn't. But he didn't create it though.
No, he didn't.
It was Republicans.
Yeah, I remember you
created it.
teaching me that before. Yeah.
All right, let's
Okay.
move on. Let's move on.
What do you got?
Oh, this is the perfect time. Come on, segue, Jay.
All right, so where we going?
All right, I just have I'm just gonna throw up like a huge question that you have to answer. Okay, if you had to put your money on it and everything on it, what do you think happens when you die?
Oh boy.
If you just had to put your money on it,
You know what I thought was interesting?
Ray, go first.
Yeah, go.
You know what I thought was interesting though is your mother actually. We were talking about it, and your mother actually thinks that you go back to where you come from.
Like, as in what?
In other words, you're just going to go back to where you came from.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what your
to,
mother
like-
believed.
Right.
She just threw that out.
No,
But she
that's what I think. I
Well,
think.
I've said this point on a podcast before, and I want to say it again. Just hear me out on this, okay? I've said this to you before. Sometimes, like for me, when I think about death, right, and I get scared about it, right? Most people, I'm scared about what I'd be leaving behind. If I was like single, I wouldn't be as scared.
Yeah.
I'm just like petrified of what I would leave behind to the
Yeah.
point where like you should take some time to like get stuff in order if you can as a man or a husband, because
Right.
shit can happen and you don't want to just leave your family just like stranded. Like at least if you have stuff in order, I think that's like an honorable thing to do, that we should.
But
Right.
most
You know,
people really
they
just
don't,
are
because
barely
you put that-
struggling.
Yeah.
Right. Most people are struggling.
Well, hold on, let me finish my point. So when I think about dying, sometimes you just have to think about before you were born, because it's the same thing. Whatever that is, whatever before you were born was, to me, in my head, is what is after.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I'm okay
exactly
with
what
that.
your
I don't
mom
think I'm
said.
going to I don't think I'm going to heaven.
Just going back to the source.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Whatever that is, yeah.
And I know Stephen Hawking thinks, I was just like looking it up, and I guess Stephen Hawking said that he thinks it's like a computer chip. And
Really?
and it just shuts off. That's like his philosophy.
That's his. And then things are just.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I guess in the end, though, we don't really know, do we?
I know.
No one knows.
I know.
Well, a lot of it, you know, a lot of it too is this idea that surfaces every now and then. The soul. I mean, do you
We were
believe
talking-
in a soul?
Yeah, it weighs 6 ounces.
Now, Jason seems like he doesn't.
I don't know.
But they've
The idea of mind, body, and soul.
soul. Yeah. Well,
And
they've
so-
Wait,
I
does a
think
chipmunk-
science has proven that the soul weighs 6 ounces. Like they weigh the body as it dies, and they did some study where they
Oh,
weighed
really?
a bunch of
I'm
people
not
as they
familiar with
die,
that.
and it's like 6 ounces is the weight of the soul. So I don't know if that's like.
But it's just an
We were
unexplainable
talking about
thing.
that, yeah. Like,
Doesn't
is it
prove anything,
like,
but-
yeah, like what is the weight? Like, what is it? Is it just like,
I know.
is it the energy of motion? Like, does that weigh something?
Yeah,
like
I know.
your blood moving? Like, is there like a momentum
Couple
in there that
ounces,
like
yeah.
weighs something?
It's like breathing.
Yeah, or
and-
like it's a like what's that, centrifugal or like a gyroscope type
Ooh,
weight
you hit me
thing?
with that word. Boom! Dude, knocked me
Yeah,
out.
of course.
Like it weighs 6 ounces. That's
I mean,
fucking
some things
nuts.
go into whether you believe in reincarnation, right? That's another,
Yeah.
Actually, majority of people in the world actually believe in reincarnation.
Yeah, I think I might.
You know what I mean? People don't realize that the majority of, I think like your Judeo-Christian Islamic, because they're all the same, right?
Yeah.
They all came from Abraham, right? Abraham started everything, and so Islam, took off, and then you had Christians, so the Judeo-Christian Islamic world doesn't believe in reincarnation, but Buddhists do, and Hindus do, and there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, there is a lot.
So even though some people argue there's some suggestion in the Bible that there was a pre-existence, like some of your Christian thinkers believed in a pre-existent existence.
Christian thinkers.
Like
I think there's
Oregon,
like
Oregon was a famous Christian thinker. There's a lot of Christian thinkers, out there.
I've never heard that term
Yeah.
before. Christian thinkers. So they're like Christian philosophers.
Well, what's interesting about this guy that I've been, he talks about, he talks about the evolution. I don't know if that's the right word, but how Christianity started,
Right.
Yeah.
and how it evolved to what, how it became one of the largest religions in the world.
And it became
just based
that
on
way.
hearsay.
I know.
Yeah, based on hearsay.
Just
But it
based-
became that way because of the Catholic Church, right?
Well, the Catholic Church, right? I mean, like I always argue, people hate the Catholic Church, but you wouldn't even
like
know who
Amazon.
Jesus was if it weren't for the Catholic Church.
Because they pushed it so heavy. Right?
Well, then
That's like, what if they just made it all up? Like, what if they fucking just
Well, you
made
gotta
it
remember-
all up and they used it for control? Like,
Yeah, that's...
'cause,
but
I mean, look at the Catholic Church now and how corrupt they are and all kinds of evil shit that they're into.
a lot of the churches are like that, They're not
Well,
just
a
the
lot of them
Catholic
are like
Church.
corrupt and stuff like that, but the Catholic Church, with just all the child abuse and
I know that's some heavy
Well,
shit.
Crazy, dude.
Well, I did
Swept kind of.
they were hiding.
Yeah, but I did a Google thing, and according to Google, there's just as many, if not more, instances of pedophile in the Protestant churches. But the reason that you don't hear
What
about
about
it,
school too? What if you did the numbers on school? Like how many kids? I wonder, like, have gotten molested at a school.
Just at any school.
Yeah, like any big thing. I wonder.
There's like orphanages and shit like that.
yeah, look at all the abuse in orphanages. Yeah. So the thing is, the Catholic Church, it's easy to pick on the Catholic Church. I'm not defending the Catholic Church, by the way, but I'm just saying that, it's just that the Catholic Church is just big and the Protestant Church is scattered.
Yeah.
So you have like what, I don't know, Google one time said that there was 52,000 Christian denominations in the world. That's a lot of
1,000 Christian denominations. That's crazy.
That's a lot.
Well, you got so many. People forget about. You've got the, one of the, because you had the Catholic Church, in the beginning.
That's why That's why the Bible. Sorry to interrupt. Like, I think the Bible should be like what we were talking about earlier downstairs. How everyone should, if you want to read the Bible, read it, but interpret it yourself. Like, don't take someone else's interpretation of it.
Yeah,
well,
I think.
Yeah, it should be. That's how it should be,
like,
and that's how it should be taught. Like, if your church isn't teaching you that, like, maybe you should look into another church.
Well, my thing lately
Because
has
we
been,
are the church.
Yeah.
Well,
why, bitch?
Yeah.
Well, my thing is really, just picking on the Christianity, is that a lot of people. I think you should know a little bit about history. Like, why is somebody a Presbyterian? Why is somebody a Baptist? With Julie, I keep saying that.
Yeah, like all the little differences and all those little fuckers.
You know what I mean? Like,
what the fuck is it?
Like people will be Presbyterians, but they don't realize that, that Presbyterians, their background is John Calvin. And John Calvin existed around the same time as Martin Luther, because during Martin Luther is when you had the Protestant Reformation.
Yeah, and those guys were all rebels, right? They were trying to show that
they had their own idea.
And they were going against the Catholic Church, right?
Because the Catholic Church was getting corrupt.
Yeah, I think it was corrupt from the jump.
I know.
Well, it has to be.
God, how can people follow?
It's hard, but it's hard for things not to become corrupt.
Yeah, it is.
But the first break away from the Catholic Church, though, was the Orthodox. People never think about the Russian and the Eastern and the Greek Orthodox. That they call that the Great Schism. Where they were the first to break away from the idea of the Pope.
Yeah.
They didn't want to follow the Pope.
Right.
And so they was called the Great Schism, where where the Greek and the Russians broke away from the Catholic Church. And then you had the Protestant Reformation with Martin Luther and John Calvin. But there's hundreds. That's what I'm talking about, Christian thinkers.
Yeah.
That's just
what about, like, before the Catholic Church? Like, what the fuck was going on there?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, that's.
there was like
Egyptians,
and like African stuff that was.
Well, that's
what
like
tribal spiritualism and stuff like that.
And there could have been.
I'm learning more about that.
There could have been a whole nother world even before the Egyptians too. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe that was the second start of like the first. Like,
right, and then the Catholic Church came along and they freaking wiped out everything.
Well, prior to the Catholic Church, what you had hundreds and hundreds of Christian tribes, just like
Christian tribes.
Yeah, they were all tribes, just like in Islam. Like you have like Islam has that problem too. You got all these tribes, and so a lot of things become tribal,
Yeah.
And so prior to the Catholic Church, you had all these Christian tribes, and there were all these belief things, and one of the things that seems to be, there's a lot more than this, but one of the biggies though is, whether Jesus was God or not.
Okay.
Yeah, who was Jesus himself? We were talking about this. Because some people say he was just a mentally ill guy.
Really?
You could interpret it that way. Hypothetically, it's not much different than what people do now when we call them mentally ill.
Yeah, if he behaved the way he did now, he would be locked up.
Yeah, 100%.
Or I'll joke about myself about like the prophet and like whatever. But sometimes I'm like, what's so different about them than me?
Yeah.
Like you guys believe all their like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they knew everything and shit, and you listen to them and follow your life on it. But how are they different than me when I say shit?
They aren't. I think that's really what the story of Jesus is. I think it is.
Yeah, but the argument though was that whether Jesus some feel that Jesus didn't believe that he was God. You know, like, in other words, like some thinkers like Oregon believed in a hierarchical Trinity where, you know, God was at the top.
Yeah.
And then God creates Jesus.
Right.
Okay. And so he becomes like the Son of God.
Yeah.
And but the Trinity made Jesus equal to God. And that's different.
Yeah, that is different.
That's different.
right.
The Trinity made Jesus that they were all one.
Right.
You know,
And
the
I
Father,
like-
Son, and the Holy Ghost, the Trinity was all one, but people didn't always believe that. People believed that Jesus was more like the Son of God.
Right.
Now, in Islam, you know, they believe that Jesus was a prophet, you know, which is
Okay.
which is even different. More in the vein,
What makes him
of
different?
well, Judaism. When they think of the Messiah, they don't think of somebody divine. They just think of a king who's come to lead them into to better ways.
Yeah.
And so that's more like a prophet, whereas somehow the Catholic Church evolved to make Jesus that he was God. Even though in the Bible, there's, you know, like the Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe that Jesus is God. And neither do the Mormons. They believe he's the Son of God. In other words, that he's not
But
greater.
they all worship Jesus, right?
Well, no. I mean, the idea that Jesus is equal to God is different.
But do they worship
That God,
him in the
that
same?
the
Do his
God
followers
created Jesus.
Yeah.
do his
I think
followers worship Jesus in the same way though?
Yeah.
That follow that religion. Do they still worship him?
The
though?
7-day
Even-
Adventists and stuff.
I think the Catholic and the Protestants, they're all. I think the Trinity is like 80-some
Riley.
percent.
That's Riley
The
barking.
dog's name is Riley.
Oh.
Is the dog barking at Riley?
That was your daughter, dude.
Nah.
Got some
Well,
money.
they said like that 80-some percent, you know, of people pretty much believe in the Trinity, that Jesus is God.
Yeah.
You know,
See, I
that-
think a lot of it's just been misled. And
Yeah, what's your
the
take? Like,
story
you
should be like it would like.
What's your take?
Jesus is like the blueprint of what human beings are capable of. That's what I think. And I
But
think
it's hard to know what Jesus, who was this
He was
man,
a
and what did he
human
really
being.
teach? And that's what
And
this guy Ehrman does. He's looking at the history of Christianity, and he's really studying, you know, the Bible, and he's saying, hey, you know, like, if you really think about it, like, why are the Gospels saying different things?
Right.
Like in the one Gospel, you know, that you've got the wise men to go visit
if you really
baby
break it
Jesus,
down, yeah.
but in the other Gospel, the shepherds are visiting
Shepherds are
Jesus.
there,
So which
yeah.
was it? Was it the
Yeah,
shepherds?
which was
Or
it?
The
was
wise
it the
men.
wise men?
Yeah,
you know what I
right,
mean?
right.
And so you have in John, a Gospel of John, you have Jesus being crucified before the Passover. And I think in Mark, I get this mixed up though. In Mark, in one of them, you know, Jesus dies after the Passover. You know, and then the whole idea of what the Passover is, a lot of people probably don't even know what the Passover
Well,
is.
you know what I struggle with? Like, let's say there's somebody that believes in the Bible, and then I ask them, like, do you believe in like life outside of Earth, right? And it's like, if you believe in both, like, do you think another planet with life would have the same exact Bible? And God and Jesus and all that, like another planet, which is probably right, because people are like, there's billions and billions and billions, so there's probably tons of, like, you know, like planets out there with life.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
do they believe in
Do
the
they
same
have a
exact
Bible?
Bible?
Yeah, yeah,
And they will
probably
have a
not.
Bible, and it will be completely different.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? We
Right.
just the one little rock, we're a tiny little speck. We figured it all out.
Yeah.
You
That
know?
would be
Or they all
interesting,
do have
though.
the same.
Yeah.
If we actually found another planet.
Oh, that would be a game changer if
It
we
would
really,
be a game
really
changer.
did. And we communicated with them.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
But people are changing, though. People, you know, are starting to question more too.
Do you think
know?
we've ever really seen an alien? I struggle with
I don't
that.
know.
You know, you see all that footage and stories. That one dude on Rogan, what's his name? That was believable as shit, dude.
Oh, what the hell was his name?
Yeah, it was like a wave.
Bob Levine.
Yeah.
Bob Levine.
I mean, do you know about Bob Levine in like Area 51? And you say it. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, and like he was hired by the U.S. government to go to Area 51, and he was like reverse engineering things that had crash landed on our planet.
Yeah.
And he was talking about stuff like that, and he was saying that like there was the element 115 or something unattainable or something.
We found a ship.
Yeah,
long
we
time
found a
ago.
ship, and that was like the thing that steered it was like this weird orb thing that like just floated. and he was hired to try and reverse engineer all that.
Yeah,
shit.
he was on Rogan and shit.
Yeah.
He was everywhere.
And then he said that the ship was, I forget how big he said it was.
Because it always comes down to, with me, like, do you believe that person? It gets hard, like, in this society, and, you know, like I saw a good quote. It was like, never defend a man you don't know. Or fully defend a man you don't know.
You don't know, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah,
you know?
that is true.
Like, you'll be defending Rogan or somebody.
Yeah, you kind of have to, like, get around him and
you don't
like,
know
feel him out.
Yeah.
So this guy,
But
Ehrman,
do
has
you
a lot
believe
of...
him?
I think, yeah, I do. I believe that there's, like, spaceships and shit like that. But, like...
Yeah, I know. It was a
And
believable
yeah,
story.
like the whole thing about how
struggle.
they talk about.
But never underestimate people's delusions.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But when it's like a collective one, like one that's like where hundreds of people have seen very similar things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like right after Hiroshima and all that, that's when all the UFO sightings went up. And they were saying that all the UFOs were going over to the nuclear sites and like checking out the nuclear sites. And there's all kinds of people that had said, what the hell's the name for that? What's the word of that? Bunch of...
And this guy here, he talks a lot of interesting things. Because he talks about, you know, like people sometimes, you know, when their partner passes away, that they'll see them. And this guy at the spa, you made me think about this guy at the spa actually told me that he was talking to his wife, had passed away. And, you know, and so, you know, our mind is really powerful.
How was he talking to? Did he get into detail about it?
No, you know, when people talk like that, you kind of shy away from them a little bit.
Really?
You don't want to.
Hell no! I'd be.
Would you
asking
engage
way
him?
more questions.
Would you have
Luke
engaged
would
him?
for
Absolutely,
sure.
yeah.
I would too.
I didn't really engage him. I just kind of looked at him, and but that doesn't mean that. I guess his argument is that it doesn't mean that he did see his wife.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You don't know.
And in his mind, he was talking to him. Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm saying our ability to create delusions about things is incredible.
Well, I always say, like, never underestimate the power of a placebo. It's dude, we underestimate it. You know, there's plenty of studies that show they've given them sugar pills and normal pills, and like the sugar pills worked. Like it's been tested, studied, and tried. It is real.
It's real.
I mean, the mind.
That's how it's hard to trust like any type of research because of the placebo.
I know,
like people, you know what I mean?
But that's what research is supposed to do. Though it's supposed to counter placebo effect, and some people, you have one group has placebo and the other group doesn't.
Right.
And then you're supposed to compare the placebo group with the other group.
Yeah, but like
compare
medicines
them.
and shit. But it's also only 32%. Like if there's a hypothesis, like a scientist has a hypothesis or something, and then they go and do their study and do all the scientific shit, they have to have 32% for it to be valid, 32% correct, and then if they want peer reviewed, then another scientist has to do the same experiment and be 32%. So it's only 32%.
They have to be right.
Like it's not, to get their ideas.
Yeah.
For it to be a statistic or for it to be like research or whatever, it's only 32%.
But a lot of people
repeated.
Like comfort, right? I mean, think about it. It's a scary world.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're just spinning around on this rock, and at any moment we could be dead. You know, and so I mean, so people. That's why I really like. I was telling Jason this one time. I really want to talk somebody out of their belief system, because what do I have to offer them?
Yeah.
You know, like, so I'm not going to talk. If you, like, so you believe in Jesus and you believe in whatever, you know, however, and it's making your life, you know, happy, and you're doing well and everything.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes
why am I even?
So I
come in.
I do it. I'll be like, but why am I talking you out of it? Like, it's like,
like, what do I have? You know,
you have to offer better.
But of course, but if it's not making your life better, and you're ending up in jail a lot, and something's you know, like.
Well, I wanted to go back a little bit. I just found this like interesting, like the word science in a weird way in the social atmosphere or whatever is like a hot topic. The word science.
Yeah.
And people, you know, because my beef with it is like, say with COVID, we were told to trust the science.
Right.
Right? Trust the science.
Which actually goes against science.
But just for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to issues of like transgender and other social issues, we're supposed to like not believe the science
Right.
that they're telling us.
Yep.
So what is it? Like, is there a male and female or not? Because if I have to trust the science, then I'm trusting the science with what you told me to do.
Right. Yeah,
So that's
the
where
science. Yeah,
it's-
it's weird.
it's weird, yeah,
That's like,
like-
a weird brainwashing thing.
Well, I don't know.
And when
It's
people
like,
say trust the science, like that goes against science itself.
Well, most people
explain
misuse-
that. I didn't understand that.
like
Explain
when
it.
you say trust the science, it goes against science because you're supposed to challenge the
Yeah.
science.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I just saw TikTok on that. Some dude.
That's
That's perfect, right?
That's the point of science.
Most people
Yeah.
challenge
yeah,
science.
to challenge. So saying
Wow.
trust science actually goes against science.
Well, most people
I'm gonna put you
really.
on fire right now.
I mean, it seems like a lot of people misuse the word theory, though.
Misuse the word everything, but yeah. Well,
I mean,
explain.
the definition of theory is very precise.
What's that?
It's not just, well, I have this theory that reincarnation is true, blah blah blah.
We can go like
It,
an
it,
hour
it
to
doesn't.
50.
It's not really. People use the word, but I think the word theory has a precise definition in science. It's not just.
What's the precise definition?
I'm not really
Did you
sure.
read it?
I'm not really
Look it
sure.
up.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's what would be to look up what is a precise. But people misuse the word theory.
Right, we do that a lot.
Yeah,
I always say we think we're fighting or debating a topic, but normally we're debating the definition of the word. we're
Yeah,
fighting
there's a
about.
lot of that.
So in an argument, when you're talking about like racism or trans, like it's better to start it with like, what's your definition of racism?
Right.
Or what's your definition of whatever?
That's what it.
And then go from
it
there.
always ends up as like it's a battle of what the definition
Even
is.
even like
Like, you got to define. Like that was the whole thing with Sam Harris and Peterson, Jordan Peterson, when they started talking,
Yeah.
and they had their first podcast together. They were battling what your definition of reality was, or something like that, or truth. They were trying to, and it went on for like 2 hours about what their idea was of truth was.
Well,
Yeah.
Sam Harris had a good podcast with, Professor Bart Ehrman, the guy that I gave.
Oh,
you.
really?
Yeah, you should look it up.
That's one I could listen to.
Yeah, listen to
it's a banger.
his podcast.
It's a
and
bang, it's a
he
bang.
talks about him for quite a while. They because what happened with Bart Ehrman is that he studies Greek and Latin. He knows everything, Latin, Greek. He studies Hebrew, and he knows a little bit of Aramaic and everything. This guy's a really smart guy,
Yeah,
I'm telling you. And so, all of a sudden he ends up thinking, well, wait a minute, because here he starts off as this born-again Christian.
Yeah.
And then so he gets more and more studying the Bible and the history and how everything is. And then all of a sudden he actually ends up talking himself out of it. And now he's an agnostic.
That's beautiful.
Now he's an agnostic atheist.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild.
And so if you actually listen to that podcast with
He
Professor
talks
Bart
about it.
Ehrman with Sam Harris, it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting to have the two of them. I actually got a hold of the. I managed. Sometimes you can download those things. Sometimes you can't. Huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I still,
Okay, so a theory is a set of statements or principles devised to explain a group of facts or phenomena, especially one that has been repeatedly tested or is widely accepted that can be used to make predictions about natural phenomenon.
So
Yeah, so it's not just people use theory very loosely.
Yeah, they do. Well, I mean, but at the same time, like, a lot of ideas are just theories because you're trying.
No, but I know, but they're saying that's not theory. Just your ideas, not theory.
it has to be
But like,
fact
it kind
to
of
it.
is.
Well, they're saying it's not. In other words,
They're saying
a
a set of
theory has to be
statements or-
tested.
Tested.
Just can't be your idea. Like my idea. Okay, so I say, let's say I
It
say,
can be used to make predictions. So it is just an idea, really,
but it's
based off of facts or.
it has to.
explain.
I mean, it has to. It can't just.
It's
be
an explanation. Like a theory is like an explanation of things.
based
Yeah.
on facts and
Facts.
evidence
Facts
and
and-
So if
everything,
you-
not
Right.
just your
or
idea,
phenomenon.
but not
Or
just
phenomenon that leaves a lot of gray
that leaves
area,
a gray, yeah.
but we don't really know.
Right.
You know,
Is-
that's
I
what a
mean-
phenomenon is.
Death isn't a phenomenon. It's what happens after death is the phenomenon.
Yeah.
Right?
So I mean, you can have a theory. Okay, so I say I have this theory that reincarnation is true, and I believe in the soul, mind, body, and so, but I have no basis in which to, to even test
To
my
back
theory.
that up, you had to test it.
So in order for a theory to be a solid, it has to be. You have to be able to test it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it has to have some kind of reality. It has to be focused in reality. One of the reasons that I do like science is science tries to go in a reality as much as possible. And as much as it can. I mean, because people do write, like you'll have like studies and evidence and all this kind of stuff, and then people still will go off on that idea, based on whatever they think it means, without any evidence.
Yeah, that's fun.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, though, there is a difference between, a belief and knowing.
Yeah, for sure.
So
you taught me that.
Right.
I remember him. He hammered on that when we first met.
So you may believe. So let's say
There's a difference between believing and knowing.
Yeah, I may believe. Yeah. Let's say, just as an example, let's say I believe in reincarnation, but I don't really know that it's true.
Right.
And so, like I was saying before, like, okay, so you're going to believe in this thing with this Christianity, this Jesus, and all this kind of stuff, and you don't even know the history of it. You don't even know, like, who John Calvin is. You don't even know who Oregon is. You don't even know the history of Christianity. You're not willing to even look into, what... And that's part of, like, this. I talked to this one pastor at the spa, really nice guy, really open. You could talk about anything with him. And that's one of the things that he had to do when he went to school. He studied all of them. He studied... Hinduism and Islam and all. He says, well, a lot of my friends are Muslims.
He still landed on Christianity. It didn't pull him away.
Yeah, I don't really know why. That was one of the things I always wondered. I started talking.
Weren't you saying maybe we could have that guy on?
Yeah.
The pastor, would he come on here?
Oh, I don't really. No, he wouldn't. He's not gonna come on here. I don't really even technically know him really.
Oh.
Like I remember I was talking to a Presbyterian. Minister, and I was so because I was asking him, I said, "Oh, you're a Presbyterian minister. Your background is John Calvin. You believe in John Calvin?"
Yeah.
He says, "Yeah, but I really wanted to. I guess I was trying to figure out, why do you believe this stuff? Why do you believe in what you believe in? You know what I mean?"
Did he say?
Right?
Did he say?
But I'm not questioning. No, I never.
I know what you mean. That is important. Like, why do you believe that?
Yeah.
Like, I get you believe it, but
why?
What
would make you make me believe it? Because this one guy, like I remember we were in the pool, and this one guy, he was like an alcoholic, and he said he had this vision of Jesus, and it made him stop being an alcoholic. Well, I'm not going to sit there and try to talk him out of it because because it helped him not become an alcoholic.
Right.
So I'm not going to question whether he saw Jesus or what have you.
I think there always has to be like a change of what people think Jesus is.
A lot of people.
What like I've been saying, like my understanding of Jesus is that like we are actually Jesus. Like you're Jesus. You're Jesus. I'm Jesus. Like every human being is Jesus.
Well, that's
so we have to.
That's
why the Bible has to be read from the standpoint as like you're the one acting as Jesus.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I'm reading it. That's the whole reason I wanted to read it.
Yeah, if we all acted as Jesus.
Yeah, if we all acted, that's how you're supposed to read it. You're not supposed to
to
worship it. You're supposed to embody it.
Yeah, but technically,
it's a great point.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, but technically, though, that's what Jesus is saying in the parable of the sheep and the goats, which I
remember you giving me that.
But you won't read it.
I think I did read it. I just don't remember it.
Yeah.
Well, I did read it because you printed it out for me. I read it.
Well, you said you lost it.
I did, but I did read it.
The premise.
What's the message of it?
The premise. Okay, the premise is exactly what you're saying.
That's
at least it's my interpretation. Okay, is that okay? So the goats. Just to summarize it, though, the goats. Jesus says, you didn't come visit me when I was in prison. You didn't give me water when I was thirsty. You didn't give me clothing when I was naked. And then the goat says, well, Jesus, when were you naked and when were you in prison? And then Jesus says, the least of thee is me. In other words, when you go visit somebody in prison, you're visiting Jesus.
Yeah.
If you're giving somebody, somebody that's hungry and you're giving them food, you're giving it to me.
To Jesus.
And that was his message.
Yeah, and I think you need to go further with it, like even like whenever you feed yourself, like you're feeding Jesus, and like everyone says that Jesus is within.
Yeah.
That's where my whole self-love
Well, you're going beyond that.
Yeah, but that's
I was just trying to focus on that parable.
No, I know, but like I'm like tying it into like my whole self-love thing. Like I think the self-love revolution is something that needs to happen, and like to get there through Jesus is just saying like Jesus is within. So and they all say it. They all say God's within, Jesus is within. So you need to love yourself as like this part of you that is Jesus or whatever. You have to love that.
But with the Bible, though, I mean, the New Testament in particular, is that you're getting fragments, of things, like of everything. Everything is a fragment. It's just, when Mark 50 years, or I don't know if it was 50 years, maybe 30 to 50 years, after Jesus' crucifixion, he decides to write the Gospel of Mark based on what people were telling him.
Right.
So he's just getting fragments of what the stories that are going around, that are circulating. I mean, these stories.
Yeah, that's why I'm so excited to read it.
Yeah, he's still doing
it.
Yeah,
but that's how it's so long, and I'm on Gemini or Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Right now, they just the Lord came down. He sent people to Sodom and Gomorrah and destroyed it.
Yeah.
Rained fire on Sodom because when the angels came down, they went and they hung out with Lot, which was Abraham's like nephew or some shit.
Yeah.
And Lot was like, "Okay, cool, yeah, come into my house. And the angels were like, "No, we're gonna hang out here." He's like, "No, come in," because Sodom was like the place of sin. Like that's where everything was fucking. So he brought the angels into his house, and like everyone in the land, in Sodom, they came to his house and they were pounding on the door. They were trying to break down the door to rape the angels that the Lord sent. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
But the thing is, but what does it mean? These are all stories, but what do they mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right,
it's
what does
fucking
that
crazy.
mean?
Yeah. That's why, and it's fun because I'm reading it on TikTok, and so I'll read a passage and then I record my thoughts. So I'll read it and then record my thoughts, and then read it and record my thoughts.
There's like a...
So it is. It's like my interpretation. It's
yeah.
Like
there was a lady at the spa, it's funny, you'll meet up people at the bicycle. I remember I was into the bicycle for a while.
Oh, you were?
And so I met up with one woman, and we were just talking, and we got into talking about religion. And she says, well, her husband has like this whole interpretation of Genesis as being alien.
No shit.
And so the next time she says, I'm going to bring you my husband's book. And so then when she came, she actually did. She gave me his book, and I read it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Oh, you told me about him.
And so it's interesting.
You still have it?
I still have the book.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it up though.
No, yeah. I probably won't read it anyhow.
And that's what I mean. I hate giving people books. They
look
never
at
give
it?
them back. And I'm guilty too.
Yeah.
People are giving me books and I never giving them back.
Yeah.
That's why I hate
couple.
giving out books. This book, actually, I told her that there's somebody
Like a
on
CD.
Amazon that was selling it
Back
for
in the day.
$250.
Fuck out of here, really?
Yeah.
Can I look at it at least?
Yeah, you can look at
Okay.
it.
Can I come over? How big is it?
It's just a little book.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a paperback book. And I
called?
read it, and there are certain...
And it explains how Genesis is alien?
Well, yeah, there's
Perfect time for me to
Yeah,
read it.
wow.
I wish I had my
shit.
phone with me because I kept track of this one thing in it that's confusing in Genesis, where and people have different explanations about it, but I always forget the passage about where it says something about, uses the word gods in the plural, that man was made in our image.
Yeah, that was at the very beginning. That was like the very beginning.
Who was the our?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. It said we, and it was like, well, who the fuck is that?
Yeah,
like,
who's we?
So
Who's
it's a
our?
council, and it's fun because you would like to. I should show you what I'm doing on TikTok. You'd like it because then people are commenting and they're like, "Oh yeah, it is a council," and I'm like, "Well, how does that?" I just didn't know that. I thought
People have different, but in the end, right? Everybody's is just everybody's opinion.
Yeah.
Everybody's interpretation.
Right.
Because in the end, it's just somehow the story of Christ and the miracles and all that just sort of took off on its own.
Right. And what was he premising his book on? Was it the Ethiopian Bible like we were talking before, or was it the King James
he was
version?
going by just Genesis.
He was just King James Genesis. Because I wonder if the Ethiopian Genesis is different.
Yeah, because King James, I guess King James didn't actually write it. He commissioned it.
He commissioned it, so he was the one
He
that would
wanted
say, put this stuff in it.
He wanted to flow better.
Right.
And that's
he
kind
took
of
some
risky,
shit out.
isn't it?
It is, dude. That's why I don't, how can anyone trust it? when there was this freaking.
In other words, I'm going to use
I
this
don't know
word
if he
because
was
it
tyrannical
sounds.
or whatever.
Yeah, I'm
but-
going to use this word because it sounds better.
Yeah, like
And
how
that changes the
that's
whole meaning.
obviously used to control people. I mean, this was a king that was trying to control his peasants and his.
But
I
you know,
keep saying
the
that.
King James
That's what it
version
says.
is very popular, though. I mean, people like it. Just one, I remember I got into this sort of, you
Oh, the
know,
battery's dying.
Yeah.
I got into this comment
Right.
thing on YouTube with this one woman,
You have another one?
I might. I think.
and she thinks
Look
that,
out.
you know, that the Bible is the Word of God.
Yeah.
And there's really, when you break it down, no, it's not. If the Bible
It's a
is made
story.
by God, it sure is imperfect.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean? In other
for
words,
sure.
if God wrote this, then well, he's not a very good writer.
Right. Yeah, dude.
You know, I mean, I
I
think God
feel you
could have
on
done
that.
a better job.
That's why, like, I feel like the whole thing was used just to control. Like the Vatican is a very controlling entity, and when you think about the kings and they were all controlling entities, so they used the Bible to control the people.
You know, they didn't even want
cuts
you
off, I'll
like
save it for,
you know, like the
audio
Catholic
only.
Church.
Okay.
The Catholic
It's
Church.
about to die though.
You know, if you actually like, you know, like wanted to write, you know, you weren't allowed to write the, you know, the Bible in another language. It was against the law.
Huh.
And yet majority of people, 90+ people, were illiterate.
Yeah.
I mean, some people knew how to read, but some people, you know, didn't know how to write. But just because you know how to read doesn't mean you know how to write.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of people, you know, only people like, you know, and especially when you're talking about, you know, the Bible, you know, being in Hebrew and then Jesus being Aramaic and all that, and then the New Testament was really written in Greek.
Yeah.
So only the very learned
the
people were
translation
actually
shit.
writing.
Right. Right.
And all the
It's
commoners.
very sus. The whole freaking thing about the Bible is very suspect, and it's hard not to
beyond.
see it. It's beyond sus.
It's beyond.
Yeah.
I can't. But here's the problem.
Doesn't mean that it's not true. It's just that, I mean, that's the thing. You know, like I think the more that I learn and the more that I understand the intricacies of the Bible and the contradictions, makes me actually be less critical, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like before, I was always very critical,
Right. But now you're learning about it.
but now I'm actually less critical of people and their belief. You know what I mean? Which is interesting. You know.
Yeah.
Because that's what this Bart Ehrman keeps saying. He says, I'm not trying to talk you out of your religion. I'm just telling you this is the way it is. You know, and everything points to this is how it is. And whether you want to believe that or not is up to you. But I'm telling you, you know, all the people that wrote in the Bible, in the New Testament, did not witness Jesus.
None of them did.
Nobody did.
Huh.
Because they all wrote it in Greek. Jesus was Aramaic.
Yeah. So how could
There's
they...
not even a J in the Aramaic language.
Right.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Like, you know how you say at the end of the day it doesn't matter because we're all just gonna die, right? We're like, it doesn't matter.
Life's a
but-
bitch and then you die anyway.
Yeah.
No, but you're like, you know, in the end, none of us know, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, because they think it's how other people should act. too.
Yeah.
So they're like, it's beyond what just happens when we die. It's like they think there's a way people should live.
Should live.
And that's how they're like hating people, like gay people or whatever.
And there's too much judgment.
Abortion.
Yeah.
So we have to break that barrier of like the judgment in it to show them how ridiculous the story is to begin with.
Right.
And try to find like the real, but it's still your interpretation of like that love is in it.
Right.
So they have to believe in you. And that's like in a way like what my dad is saying when he talks to a priest is like, why should I believe you in your faith? Like I get your faith, but like if you're selling me on your faith, I need to know like why you believe it and if I believe you in general.
Right.
So it's like people are going to church taking the word from a guy that they don't even know. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these priests and stuff. You don't know this dude, you know, and you're just believing him. But you don't believe anybody else in your life. But yet this one guy in this one situation about the most confusing thing that most of us have no idea about, you're going to believe that. You don't believe politicians. You don't believe your best friend, your mom, your dad, everybody lies. You know, but this guy and what he's saying with that Bible, of that interpretation of a story that was translated wrong.
Yeah, right.
About stories about a guy who had a delusion
Yeah.
about a man. It's like,
all secondhand.
yeah, and your judgment is coming from that belief of what I just said. So you have to break that barrier.
Yeah, and fucking give that guy money, eh?
Yeah, and give that guy. It's almost like ridiculous. And so, but like my dad is saying, I get to a point where I'm like, well, if that's what makes you happy and stuff, but it's the judgment
Yeah.
from it. So it's like
Right.
you can
Well,
believe it,
that's-
but just don't judge. So it's
Don't
hard.
judge other people.
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
yeah.
That's like the
let's
thing.
face it,
That's
though.
it.
If you're judging, you're not doing what Jesus.
I know.
Because Jesus
Exactly.
says, don't be judgmental,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
He says, judge not, lest you be judged.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Before you judge somebody else, take that mote out of your eye.
Yeah, and it's
Look-
it's almost like we're programmed or taught to be judges, like the way that.
For survival
Yeah.
too, you almost have to eye people up in just in a survival mode. in a
Yeah,
way.
you got to judge how they are.
It's hard not to
Yeah, it's
keep-
hard not to.
Yeah,
But there is a tendency, though, for people that get into that to be judgmental,
Yeah,
even though
whole-
Jesus is saying not to be.
I know. It's like
that's what like keeps people down.
I mean, if you
That's what
keep it-
keeps
I mean,
all down.
I just
You
can't
know,
with it. It's
now
beyond
this guy
silly.
here too, the airman, he actually, I was always sort of a little bit critical of Paul, but he's
the
actually
whole
saying,
Paul thing.
but he's saying,
Yeah,
but
Paul
he's saying
was-
Paul.
That's probably dead. Don't even worry about it. We gotta wrap it up. It's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
dead.
He's saying Paul is not necessarily, is a complicated story too.
Yeah, finish up this point, then we gotta wrap it up. If you're making
Yeah.
a point.
Well, the idea that that Paul said that faith alone will take you to it's really the belief, this faith
Yeah.
is what is the important thing. It's not what you do in your daily life. It's the faith, it's the belief in Jesus that will take you to heaven. But that's not exactly what Jesus is saying in the parable of the sheep and the goats. He's saying that you should reach out and help people.
And help people.
And so, but he's arguing that Paul isn't necessarily saying that, and so, because then you're left with interpreting, trying to figure out what exactly Paul was all about,
Yeah.
because he has this vision, of Jesus, and so it's just complex, and I know, like even like with some people, they'll say, well, to read the Bible, but it's really the Bible is really quite complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. All right.
And I'll end with saying that.
Yeah.
That was
So
good. The Bible is complex.
yeah, we had a little fill in with Big Ray. You know
Yep.
what I mean? This little whatever. Oh, it's dead again. Damn it.
Oh,
Oh, we're on the
fuck.
security cam.
Hey.
So
is
all right,
it
we're
on?
out.
Yeah, we're out.
We're dead. We
All
always
right.
yeah. The batteries always die with this episode.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
they
how
do,
it
huh?
is.